Sudeep, can you disable the chat for the participants? Because I cannot send a message to selecting to everyone.
Yes, just give me a screen.
I can see only two options: chat to host and panelist and being AlmaBetter. So it should be one option should be to everyone. So please can you check it out? Hi guys, thanks for joining in. So we'll start exactly at 11. So
Please check Google. I have given you the access.
yeah, got it, Sudeep. Yeah, guys, if you are having any doubts, you can text over the chat box. So we're going to start in another 5 minutes. So this time, like the session is going to be more exciting. So let's wait for some minutes to start it.
रातें बेशुमार तेरी यादें बेहिसाब गम ये था मेरा बेअसर रही शराबें बेसबर ये दिल जो मेरा बेवकूफ था तेरे बिना बेकरार सी थी रातें बेशुमार तेरी यादें बेहिसाब गम ये था मेरा बेअसर रही शराबें बेसबर ये दिल जो मेरा बेवकूफ था तेरे बिना तेरे बिन रात दिन भीगता था मैं अश्कों की बारिश में आज तू है सामने जो कम हुए हैं सारे फासले आज तोड़ दे चाहे फिर मुझे तुझसे टूटने में भी एक मजा है हम अगर नहीं बाहों में तेरी किसकी फिर भला ये हंसी जगह है आज तोड़ दे चाहे फिर मुझे तुझसे टूटने में भी एक नशा है हम अगर नहीं बाहों में तेरी किसकी फिर भला ये हंसी जगह है बेजुबान सी थी रातें बरसी फिर जो तेरी यादें बिखरा जिनमें गम ये था मेरा बेतुकी लगी शराब भीगा जिनमें दिल ये मेरा बेवजह था सब तेरे बिना आ गई ये शाम जो तो कल सुबह का कोई इंतजार क्यों करे दूरियां खत्म हुए हैं सारे फासले
देख ले तू आज जिए मेरी आज भी मैं तेरा यही आरज़ू जो तेरी यूं होने लगी होशों में रहता नहीं ना जाने क्यों तू ही तू दिल में बसाए तेरे बिना क्या जीऊं बिखरा ये मन क्या सितम तूने हटाए फिर भी मैं कुछ ना कहूँ ये तो बता क्या है मुब्तला मेरी नजर के शिकार में ये तो पता तुझे है भला सब है तेरे इख्तियार में जान ले तू बदल भी जाए सभी मैं रहूंगा एक सा यही ना जाने क्यों तू ही तू दिल में बसाए तेरे बिना क्या जीऊं बिखरा ये मन क्या सितम ना कहूँ दिखा जा पुछ ले मेरा हाल एक बारी आ जा मुखड़ा दिखा जा पुछ ले मेरा हाल एक बारी आ जा सीने ला जा दस दे अपना भी हाल तू होवे एक मैं होवा दोवे कोई ये नदियों पार कोलिया के नैन मिला के करिए गल्ला चार चल चलिए दूर किते नी चल तू मेरे नाल गल सुन बल्लिए आ चल चलिए चल तू मेरे नाल फड़ के हाथ नी हुण मैं तेरा ले जाना तैनू नाल तू होवे एक मैं होवा दोवे कोई ये नदियों पार कोलिया के नैन मिला के करिए गल्ला चार तू होवे एक मैं होवा दोवे कोई ये नदियों पार कोलिया के नैन मिला के करिए गल्ला चार
Coke Studio, Season 14.
Hey guys, very good morning. Welcome to this masterclass session on Will ChatGPT replace you? So first of all, I want to thank every one of you who has joined this session. I know it's Saturday, it's early morning, and it's winter in most part of this country, right? And really happy that you guys took some time out to join this session. So again, really great to see so many folks attending this session because the topic is so interesting. It's so trendy and it's a recent phenomenon. And we'll talk about what ChatGPT is, what's all the hype. And I think I'm just looking forward to this great session, guys. So we'll not extend this session for long. So we'll probably try to finish up what we want to discuss in probably an hour. And then we'll have a lot of time to play some quizzes, right? And you'll be getting really exciting rewards and goodies who the guys who are performing well in the quiz, right? So just stay tuned and you'll also be getting the certificate. And between the session, I'll be sharing a Google form link with you guys. So please do update that because that will be helpful for us to understand who topped the quiz. And we'll be sending goodies to you after the session, right? And we'll also be sharing the recording of this masterclass after the session is over, guys, right? So without any ado, let's get on with the session. So are you guys excited with this class? Can I see some yes? All right, awesome. I think let's begin. So see, the agenda for today's masterclass is pretty straightforward. We first want to understand what's the hype around ChatGPT currently, right? Why are people even talking about it? And then we'll try to answer what is ChatGPT. Probably we'll try to not delve very deep, but we'll try to understand at surface level more or less, because I assume that you guys need to have a lot of context to actually understand, but we'll try to simplify those for you, right? And the second point that we are going to highlight is how is ChatGPT revolutionizing the world, right? So hearing all the news about it, right? So we'll sort of try to cover what can ChatGPT do, how it can revolutionize the world, right? Next, I would want to focus more on the entire set of smart AI tools that we have at our disposal, right? Apart from ChatGPT. So we want to sort of discuss as in how the future is going to look like when we are seeing so much advancement in AI, right? So that's going to be pretty interesting because we're not going to just talk about ChatGPT, but we'll also cover very important tools and models which are out there, and they are like world class, right? They are state of the art models that we say, right? And at the end we are going to discuss why traditional ML is going to stay and what ChatGPT can do, right? So despite ChatGPT being so popular, it can only do certain set of tasks, and there are a lot of plethora of other tasks which ChatGPT isn't going to help us at all, right? So we'll understand what does it even mean. And then after we have covered these questions, we'll have a very interesting quiz. So stay tuned for the exciting quiz session, guys, and you're going to get the goodies and rewards. Um, so and then towards the end, we'll take some question and answer, and we'll discuss a little bit on what are we trying to do with AlmaBetter. And we'll discuss a bit about our learning pedagogy and all, right? So I hope things are going to be pretty interesting for you. So let's begin, right? So let's first discuss what's the hype, right? And I wouldn't want to make this very boring session, so I would want to involve you, all of you guys, in interacting in this session. So let's see what ChatGPT can do. Okay, so here a popular person on the internet, what they do, what they did, in fact, so they gave a prompt, right? So how ChatGPT works more or less, so you give them a simple prompt, right? Something like, hey, generate me this particular description, or do something like this, right? And ChatGPT can generate text based on your prompt. So that is what we call as prompt, the input that you will provide in the interface, and then ChatGPT is going to generate the next text in sequence, right? Whatever that it determines is relevant and useful based on the prompt. So some user, they gave a prompt like, give a step-by-step analysis of the worst case time complexity of the bubble sort algorithm. So there is this certain bubble sort algorithm, which is a very common algorithm in sorting. And they asked, write this code with Python code examples. But here is a twist. The author mentioned that, but write every sentence in the speaking style of a fast talking wise guy from a 1940s gangster movie, right? And let's see what ChatGPT can do, right? So the ChatGPT is here saying, all right, pal, listen up, right? In that particular style of a 1940s gangster, and they're saying the bubble sort algorithm, she's a real simple one, right? And you'll never find any technical author maybe using such sentences to describe, right? But the worst case time complexity, that's a whole different story, blah blah blah, right? And now it also generates the code for you, right? So you have an array, and then you have certain variable name swap, you write a while loop, right? And then you do certain things within the while loop, which is at the core of your bubble sort algorithm. So of course we are not going to go into the depths of it, but just at our view, right, what we can see, that if I give a very simple prompt, ChatGPT can generate a very interesting text, right? So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play a very simple, interesting exercise with you guys. So I want to get your input, as in what kind of prompt that we can provide ChatGPT, and it will be really interesting to see what kind of text it generates, right? So probably before you sort of write a text in chat, I'm going to share a Padlet link with you guys, and then we'll see how we can do it, right? So give me a second. So I hope you guys are able to see this. So just bear with me for a few seconds. I'm just getting ready up. Okay, so right. So what I can do, I can probably use an existing one and allow. All right. So just give me a second. So I'm just sharing if you guys are not able to see what's happening. So hang on, I'll just reshare my screen. and I'll just share my entire desktop, right? So what we want to do here is basically I will be clearing the post, and in this, right? So I've cleared the post, and I'll also mention this as let's say I'll edit this as well. So, all right, no worries. I think so. I'm sharing this link over. I've shared this link over chat in Zoom, and what you can do, you guys can also, maybe if you're not able to get the link, you can probably just type out this particular bit, right? So this is a space where I am just going to get really important suggestions from you guys, and we'll enter those exactly in our chat GPT, and we'll see what kind of text it generates, right? So I want to you guys to be really participative in this session. So just let's go ahead and please write your post here, right? So and I would want to. So can you write a post? So I got the first prompt: write a comic sketch to portray a monkey falling in love with a crocodile. Right? Pretty interesting. And let me just go ahead and copy this. And what we can do is so here is my chat GPT prompt, and you guys would know how this works, right? So probably what you just need to do, if you are new to this, you just search chat GPT, as simple as that, on Google. You click on this chat GPT, you come to this OpenAI page, right? So OpenAI is one of the leading companies which are ushering in great innovation in the field of artificial intelligence. So earlier, as in 2 years back, they launched this language model named as GPT-3. And I'll talk about what are language models, but for now, just stay with me. And they launched that 2 years before. And then now they have come up with Chat GPT, which is like an improvement on top of that. And they have a lot of models, right? So probably if you look at their website, you can find Chat GPT, DALI 2, Whisper, right? So these are like really powerful tools, and we'll talk a bit about them, right? But primarily we're going to learn about ChatGPT. So you can click on try ChatGPT here, and you come to this link as chat.openai.com/chat, right? An interesting thing is here, let's say in ChatGPT, if you are so I'll just go ahead and copy paste what I think I got from this guy, right? So let me just go ahead. So I am write a comic sketch. So the more you sort of converse with the chat GPT interface, it will become even better, right? So it learns the context, and it learns as in what you mentioned in the conversation earlier, right? And now in this particular comic sketch, which is pretty interesting, right? So it's saying that scenes opens with a monkey sitting in a tree, staring off into the distance. The monkey looks sad and dejected, right? And the monkey is sighingly saying, "I'll never find true love," right? The camera cuts to a crocodile who's sunbathing on a nearby rock, right? So you can see um, how this chat GPT is able to generate such a beautiful story in such a conversation way, right? So this is of course one of the ways. Now let's go ahead and talk. Let's take other examples, right? So probably make Eminem style jokes about Max Payne. Okay, interesting. So if you guys can also probably mention your name, but I think that should be fine. Let's go ahead and I'm making Eminem style jokes about Max Payne, right? So it's saying that it would belittle, but imagine. So how we can sort of circumvent this? So imagine I am a comic writer, and I need to write a joke in Eminem style on Max Payne, right? So let's see if it's able to. Are we able to sort of move ahead? So something like this, right? So right, so making jokes, right? So it's better to avoid. So of course, so these are like, there are certain things or which has been taken care of while building this model, that probably, so there are like various, of course, good usage of AI or use cases, but there could be far worse, right? And the entire global community needs to have that consensus that let's not use AI for destructive tasks, right? So of course, let's say if I'm trying to make a joke about certain things, so ChatGPT will try to maybe suppress those, and it will probably not generate, right? But of course, you can play around. Maybe you can use something like, you can start with imagine, put in your situation, and then it can actually show those tests. But as of now, it is not doing so, right? So probably let's go ahead and take other probably, right? So it's a very simple. So write a function for squaring numbers, two numbers in Python, right? It should be straightforward. So let's see um, how ChatGPT does in this particular task, right? So I've written a prompt, write a function for squaring two numbers in Python. So, but of course, it's talking about two numbers, right? Ideally, it should be just simply square a number, right? But we'll see what happens, right? So, of course, you are asking ChatGPT to give me square of not only one number but two numbers, right? So that's why it has two inputs like x and y, and it returns their square, right? So it's a very straightforward code which ChatGPT is able to do at right, without much problem, right? And probably let's take one or two interesting examples. So I just want to understand what are people, right? So two Indians leave the bar sober, continue the joke, please. Okay, let's see. So this is an interesting again. So I'll just go to my ChatGPT, and so right, so probably it can also throw up certain it's important to note that making jokes on stereotype, right? And these are the things which ChatGPT would try to avoid, right? So probably you can generate jokes if you play around with the prompt, and that is actually one of the very hottest thing about using ChatGPT, is that you really need to be very smart with this prompt, right? So of course, for certain prompts, the ChatGPT will generate the text, but for other prompts, it will suppress. It will not generate, and it will give you a warning that, hey, I won't be able to do this because this goes against certain ethics which I have been instructed earlier, right? So these are the things, but of course you have to engineer the prompt, the input that we are seeing. So if we fiddle around with the prompts and experiment with them, you'll be able to get everything out of chat GPT, right? So let's try something like this. So write totally wrong instructions about science from a person who has no idea what they're talking about. Let's see this. We can of course engineer this prompt in a better way, but I'm just going to type right. So it can say that, okay, I can provide you, but I want to remind, right? So of course it's giving you a warning, but it's giving you certain wrong instructions. To make a volcano, mix together baking soda and ketchup in a plastic bottle, then add in some food coloring for effect, and put the bottle in microwave for 3 minutes, right? You've created a volcano. So something like that, right? So of course, we can really get better at entering the prompt, and we can get the outputs that we more or less desire, right? So okay. So I think we have got interesting prompts, and we experimented with this. So now you are able to understand as in how we can use chat gpt, right? So of course, chat gpt, one important thing I just want to tell you guys is chat gpt is a very massive language model, and we'll talk about it. But so it only knows about the historical events or anything which has happened before 2022 or 2021, right? At the time around which this model was more or less trained. It does not have any understanding about the recent or the current events happening in the world, right? It's not connected to the internet, right? It only knows history so far. And if I give a prompt like write a budget speech for 2023, it won't be able to generate, right? But anyway, let's say if you want to generate a budget speech for 2023, you have to carefully engineer the prompt, right? So probably you can write, imagine I am the finance minister of a country like India, and we are curating the budget for 2023 to be presented in the parliament. So probably you put something like imagine, or put them in the context, so that chat gpt can be creative, and it does not simply blurt out that, hey, I do not know this because 2023 is, let's say, it's something which is happening in open in world, and I do not have information about it, right? So that's the essential idea, right? So right. So I think we can do a lot of interesting things with ChatGPT, right? So let's say write a poem on how to become a data scientist. This seems a bit interesting. So probably let's go ahead and try to experiment, right? Most of the times if you guys try to, let's say, access ChatGPT, it might throw you an error, say that our system is at capacity and we'll be back, right? Because ChatGPT has gotten so popular, and in fact it's the fastest growing app, and within 5 days it had around 5 million daily active users, which is like never seen in history. When Facebook launched in 2003, it did not pick up that way, right? When Google launched, it did not pick up that way. But ChatGPT has really become a phenomenon, right? And let's see how this poem looks like. So to become a data scientist, a journey you must embark, right? So of course it's giving a poem. Now let's go ahead and make this interesting. So in the style of let's say in the style of Eminem, as simple as that, right? So it's not derogatory, it's not anything as such, right? And probably I'm sorry, creating a that okay. um all right. Okay. In a style of in a rap in a rap style. I'm just going to, let's say, mention rap style. So I'm just trying to get certain things done, and let's see what it does, right? At certain times it does just hangs up. But listen up, you all. It's time to learn how to become a data scientist and earn the skills to analyze and make sense of all the data that's out there in tens. So it's pretty interesting, right? And of course, if I add a really good music and a video on top of it, I have a really good video, and it can go viral, right? And who knows, right? So you can write an entire book today with ChatGPT. Let's be honest, right? So you might be seeing really popular books out there, and you can create your own book today, right? You can create your own blog articles, you can create your own song lyrics, you can create your own YouTube video scripts and outline as well, right? So let's say you want to let's say write a YouTube video script. So this is my prompt. So write a YouTube video script to for, let's say, for a video on um, uh, for a video on top I would say, let's say, tech jobs in the world, right? So something like this, right? So, and it can also give you an outline, right? It will give you all these things in a really, right? So it's giving you as in how you are going to even shoot the video, right? So opening shot of a person sitting in front of a computer screen, and narrator is saying, hello and welcome to our video on top tech jobs in the world. Today we're going to take us some of the most in demand and hyping, right? So this is mind boggling, right? I'm let's say if I have access to a really smart individual in the world who knows almost, let's say, everything, right? But even that person won't be that creative, right? But now ChatGPT more or less knows the entire internet, and it can be really creative, right? And it's mind boggling how is it able to do so. So we'll try to understand how is it doing such magic, right? So I hope you guys are with me at this point. So can you please just mention yes if you are able to follow what's happening? So right, and there's a question, sir, will everyone get the same script, right? It's not, you're not going to get the same script. So at every, let's say, repetition, you're passing a prompt, it's going to generate a new, let's say, set of text, right? And it is probably on certain occasions the text can be duplicate, but usually it's not the case, right? So it is going to come up with a different text, and if you just copy paste those, you'll never find those on the internet. And I'm just trying to give you a reason, right? So let's say I'm going to go ahead and just copy paste this, and let's say Google over the internet, right? Am I going to get a text? I'm not going to get any matching thing, right? That means these particular 4 lines have been generated for the first time in human history. That's pretty crazy to me if when you actually hear it in that way, right? So these particular 4 sentences in these particular order of words it has never been generated in history, and we are doing it for the first time. And that's why if I try to search, I'll not be able to get anything on the Google, right? So all these texts are innovative. So let's say if you are going to complete your assignment, you can take ChatGPT help, but I would suggest that you maybe use ChatGPT to build your first draft, but use your ideas on top of it. But because a lot of college professors and people, they are employing tools which can actually detect AI generated content, right? So maybe ChatGPT is a really useful tool to develop a first draft, to develop an idea, and then of course you have to work and put in your creative thought to actually get the work done, right? So yeah. So interesting. So thanks everyone. I think for giving me really great prompts, and we had a really fun exercise, at least with ChatGPT for now, right? So now let's go back and understand what are the things that ChatGPT can do, right? So ChatGPT can also code apps. So I'm just going to show a tweet, right? So this guy asked, "Can you help me build an app?" Right, using ChatGPT, right? So of course, it's giving you all these steps that you can do. Sign up for an API key from OpenAI. So it's first of all giving you the outline that the first we need to do these steps, and we'll be able to build the app, right? So now once it has defined the app, the author asked, "I want to write the app in Python. Can you write the code for me?" Right? And it's able to write the code, right? So it's not very difficult. And we'll see how we can generate code from our end, and we will take those examples, right? But this is pretty crazy, right? As in, what you just need to do is plug in your own API key, and this while this code works, right? So what do you need to, so this was a code which was given, right? And now and this guy was able to say that I just copy pasted this code, and now it's able to give the correct output. They just had to plug in the API key. That's it, right? If you don't know what is an API, probably don't worry. For now, you can Google it. But API is in a way a medium to connect, let's say, with the internet, right? So you know that the information in our today's world, they are being stored in different servers throughout the globe, right? And let's say one server wants to talk to the other server. Let's say I want to ask Google that, hey, let's say restaurants near me. So it is going to maybe call an API or do something which fetches that data from the backend, and I'm able to see the result. So API is short for application programming interface, and it's like the medium of communication for the current existing internet infrastructure, right? So let's not digress, but so you guys now are able to understand, right? What's this hype, right? So the hype is essentially due to its ability to generate almost indistinguishable text, right? Which, let's say, which can be generated by a human. So of course, if I give a really good developer to this prompt, and they will be able to generate, maybe they will not be able to speak in a style of a 1940s gangster, but they will be able to give you this piece of code, right? Because of course, those people have learned this and they know how to write a bubble sort algorithm. So ChatGPT is phenomenal. It can generate text, and code is also a text in a way, right? So it's technically every piece of text that you see is being generated by ChatGPT is essentially a token, right? And a space can also be a token, can also be a token. So it generates tokens, and then these code blocks, or these are also tokens in a way. So we more or less say that this is also text, right? So ChatGPT is phenomenal in terms of creating, let's say, world-class text, which, let's say, which can actually do better than humans. That's what my understanding. Of course, as a human, if I spend a lot of time, I can be more creative, but with ChatGPT, I can actually go a long way, right? So that's the whole idea. So right. So just excuse me for a second, guys. Right. So what is ChatGPT, right? So we have been I've said this like 100 times since the beginning of this masterclass. So ChatGPT is a transformer-based language model right? So can anyone probably, so what I'll do, I'll try to make this more interactive, right? And I'll clear this Padlet as well again. And I just want you guys to tell me what do you understand by a language model, right? So I just want to just write your answers probably here, and I just want to understand what do you even mean by language model, right? So we talked about ChatGPT is a transformer based, so we'll not, of course, let's leave the transformer bit. Do you know what is a language model? I just want, if you guys, let's say, write few words just to tell me, or as in share, what do you even understand by uh, language model, right? So just can people just get on to the Padlet and write their post? So I just want to see, right? So of course, people are. I'm just trying to ask you guys, what do you think is a language model? As in, what if you don't even know? That's fine, but at least take a bet, right? So the way she's saying, it's a probability distribution over sequences of words. Okay, awesome. An NLP based model that can analyze human language, right? So, all right, all right. So I think people are more or less on in the right direction. So a language model is more or less a model which can help you generate text in that in a particular language, right? And of course, how this happens, it's of course a whole another story. As in, we need to understand what's happening in the hindsight. But more or less, a language model will deal with natural language components, right? So if you notice, right, what are the components of natural language in our day-to-day life, right? So we write, so that's a text, right? We speak, that's a speech, right? We see, so that can probably be an image, that can probably be a video. So, but image and videos, they are not exactly they're not your natural language. It's mostly your text and speech, right? What you can say and what you can write. So I'm getting a lot of really interesting answers, right? And thank you guys for participating. So a language model, in a way, a model can generate, let's say, or generate, let's say, new text or new text in sequence. So that's the basic idea of what a language model is, right? And you guys might have heard about that ChatGPT is a large language model, right? It's actually large because it has more than let's say more than 200 billion parameters, right? And it's pretty massive, right? So let's assume that what do we even understand by 200 billion parameters? So let's say each parameter contains a value, right? It's a number more or less. So that means you have 200 billion numbers, right? So if you're just going to store those many numbers, it's going to be really massive, right? So these large language models have emerged in past few years, and they have been phenomenal, as in they are reaching state of the art performance in variety of tasks, right? So like Chat GPT it's doing wonderful, and it's like achieving a state of the art performance on text generation. So if you give them a set of words as prompt, they're going to generate the text in the sequence, right? So that's what more or less this means, a language model. So Chat GPT is a transformer. So again, transformer is a type of architecture which is very popular in deep learning, especially. So these transformers are in a way made of something called self-attention layers, and these attention networks, since their dawn, have revolutionized the AI. So the performance that we are seeing with these, they have actually outpaced the earlier algorithms, like you might have known about recurrent neural networks or LSTM, right? So these language models have failed to keep up with the progress with these transformer based language models, which are like doing really advanced or exhibiting advanced performance. So now ChatGPT is essentially pre-trained on a massive data set of internet text, right? And they're fine-tuned for specific tasks such as question answering or machine translation or even text summarization. So GPT, or which is, let's say, a simple generative pre-trained transformer, right? That's what the abbreviation is. So it's a simple language model But now ChatGPT is essentially an enhancement on top of it, and it is fine-tuned, right? So a language model by itself is not fine-tuned for any specific use case. The best a language model can do is essentially generate the next word in sequence. That's what at best any language model can do. You take any advanced language model like GPT-3 or PALM, or you take any other language model, their core objective or goal is to generate the next words in sequence or text in sequence, but they're not fine-tuned by themselves. But of course, we can fine-tune these language models on different use cases, and we get something new totally, right? So something like ChatGPT, which is fine-tuned for specific tasks like dialogues or conversations. And that's why ChatGPT is just doing phenomenally well, right? And with such kind of model, it's very easy to perform a variety of NLP tasks with high accuracy and fluency. So when I say NLP, it's natural language processing. And when I say natural language, you automatically understand that this is your text and speech. There's also another regime of artificial intelligence, guys, which is not your natural language, but those are more or less related to computer vision, right? There will have something like image generation or probably video generation, right? So those are slightly different. So just keep in mind. So I have a very interesting visualization from Jay Alamar, who is a very popular AI writer, and I have taken a liberty to use his illustration. So how this essentially works. So imagine just GPT-3. So before we even talk about ChatGPT, we want to understand what is even GPT, right? So let's understand the second bit of it, right? Firstly, so assume GPT or something like GPT-3, which is like an advanced version of it. So it's like a magic box. This is a black box in a way. Let's say you give an input prompt, and what it will do. So you give an input like recite the first law of robotics. It's then going to say that a robot may not injure a human being or something like that, right? So that's the output it's generating based on this input, right? So this is essentially what we already know, and we discussed this is how it's working. So GPT is an acronym for generative. So this model is generative. It generates something. So in our case, it generates text. It's pre-trained. So this model is pre-trained, as in this trained previously on a certain set of tasks, and then fine-tuned on certain specific use cases. And then, of course, we talked about T, which is transformer, which is like a very popular newer architecture in deep learning, right? And they use something called attention networks, right? So probably you can Google about those. I can mention those in the chat. So something called attention networks. So there was a really viral paper in 2017, which is attention is all you need. And that essentially spurred in the generation of all these advanced language models. And we are seeing the implications of those, right? So it's getting really smart. Now, so once we have sort of just covered a bit of what GPT is, so now just understand how GPT more or less works, right? So there is an untrained GPT-3 model, right? So this untrained GPT-3 model has, let's say, a random initialized 175 billion parameters. So think of this. Let's say you have a lakh matrices or matrix, right? And each of these matrix, you have certain numbers that you would want to plug. And let's say, and all the numbers that I'm plugging in, let's say these lakh matrices, they all count up to 175 billion. So think of like 175 random numbers, as simple as that, right? So GPT-3 as a model, essentially any machine learning model is essentially based on certain parameters, right? And the meaning of training is essentially to get down to the appropriate values of these parameters rather than something which is random and initialized in a way. So initial random values could be, let's say, 2, 3, maybe 1.4. So we can have, let's say, maybe such 175 numbers, as simple as that. And these are these are the parameters which are initially defined for an untrained GPT-3. Now there is something called unsupervised pre-training which happens, and then when this happens, all these parameters. So when earlier they were having some random initial values, but now after training, they have certain values which are appropriate, and that's essentially the result of your training. And once we have this, and so GPT-3 is trained, it has, let's say, trained parameters, or as in learned parameters. And now it's going to do its task. So I'm going to give it a prompt based on all this internal calculation which is happening in the backend. It's going to generate me the next word in the sequence, right? Next tokens in the sequence. So this is what how a simple GPT-3 architecture looks like, right? So there's an untrained GPT-3 which goes into this. So how this training more or less happening? So we are so such large language models are being trained on 300 billion tokens of text, which is almost the entire internet, right? And how are they trained? So basically they're giving a simple objective like predict the next word, right? So they're given a sentence like a robot must. And the task of, in the training phase, the task of this model is to generate what will come next, right? And this is what the model will learn on itself, right? So a robot must obey. So let's say the next word is obey, and it comes up with something like clean. So there is a feedback which goes to it that, hey, this is wrong, and probably let's take another attempt. Let's generate another word. Which, and so basically this is how this entire training is happening, right? So GPT-3 is being, let's say, thrown with a lot of different sentence completion tasks, and it's going to generate, as in, of course, take a guess on what should be the next word. If it's doing good, it will be, let's say, fed that loop, fed that into the loop. But if it's doing wrong, it will be fed back, and it will try to improve upon the results, right, to achieve a desirable output, right? So this is more or less how this happens, right? Of course, if I want to, let's say, deep dive into what exactly is happening inside this, so of course we'll have to talk about, let's say, 96 layers of these transformers which are being used in GPT-3, right? So of course you can refer to Jay Alamar blog, and this guy is really a great illustrator, I would say, as in he visualizes complex algorithms in very neat way. So probably you can read his blog to even know things in detail, right? So so this is what GPT-3. So far we talked about GPT-3. So now let's talk about how ChatGPT is different from GPT-3. So GPT-3 is a pre-trained language model we discussed, right? And it has 175 billion parameters, right? We combine this, so we now fine tune this, right? So we discussed, right? So ChatGPT is not is a language model, but of course it's fine tuned, right? GPT-3 is on itself, it's not fine tuned, right? So now if I fine tune through something called reinforcement learning through human feedback, so essentially what does it mean? So there are a lot of, let's say, carefully chosen human, and there are a lot of carefully chosen examples. And let's say whatever that is being generated by GPT-3 is being fed here to humans, and they are seeing that does this even make sense? And then it's getting back into as a feedback loop. And the model essentially is getting really smart on those specific use cases. So in the case of ChatGPT, the purpose of fine tuning is to basically have the model generate a conversational text in a way, right? As in how humans would converse. So let's say if I ask you something, you'll give an appropriate response, right? So in that way, this fine tuning has been done through something called reinforcement learning, again, which I'll not highlight as of now because this can be confusing, but you can read on your own over the internet, and you'll understand how this happens. So once this has been fine tuned, so now we have a really amazing conversational model, right? So of course, I can do fine tuning on a specific task, like not conversation generation, but let's say text summarization. So my input is a big paragraph, and my output, let's say, is a very condensed paragraph. So those are the tasks can also be fine-tuned through certain mechanisms, right? Of course, ChatGPT is good at text summarizing, so that's also one of the tasks that it has been fine-tuned for, right? So this is the overall plain, simple layman terms to understand what's happening in ChatGPT. So essentially, it's using a pre-trained massive language model plus some fine tuning on certain specific use cases, not let's say the use case could be code generation and it can be even developed better, right? But in the case of ChatGPT, the fine tuning which has been done, it makes it better at tasks like text generation, code generation, which is again text generation only, probably text summarization. So these are the tasks which ChatGPT excels at, right? So now let's talk about how is ChatGPT revolutionizing the world, and we are again going to play with ChatGPT interface and see how we can use, right? So you probably might be aware about a lot of professions in the world, right? And so we want to understand, can let's say one of the main or recurring tasks within these professions be done by chat gpt, right? So let's take an example of a data analyst, right? So what does a data analyst do, right? So data analysts, they have let's say certain data set with them, and they would want to discover certain trends and all, right? So let's go ahead and try this out, right? So I will write, as a data analyst, I am working on let's say hotel bookings data, for example. I'm just saying, which has variables like, I'm just mentioning as in booking date, right? Let's say booking amount. This could be a location of booking, right? Let's say guests, so etc., right? So these could be let's say the part of your data set, these variables. So now what I'm requesting chat gpt is to basically generate let's say a data visualization code in Python using, let's say, matplotlib. I'm just trying to maybe suggest whatever I can think of right now. So generate a data visualization code in Python using matplotlib, showing trends of bookings in a year, right? So let's go ahead and generate put this as a prompt, and let's see what's happening, right? So it's taking a bit of time. It can happen, right? So you don't have to get anxious, or but now to visualize the trends of a hotel booking. So now what it's saying, import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, import pandas as PD, right? Data booking is equal to booking date, right? So it's saying that I'll convert certain, I'll extract the month from the date, right? So these are like really advanced code, right? And as a data analyst, you'll need to put your brain, and you'll need to think about as in how should I write the code, where do I need to maybe do format conversions and all, right? And now it's able to prove by the data. And let's say if I had some data like CSV, I should be able to plug in that and plug in this code and be able to get a really good graph, right? So probably, of course, ChatGPT on its own cannot write visualization code, right? It wouldn't, let's say, replace the data analyst, but it can actually make them smarter and make them quicker, make them efficient, right? So let's say as a data analyst, my brain should be focused on what kind of visualizations or relationships I want to understand. So I want to probably focus more on that, because that has a lot of really in-depth relationship with the business. So I need to first understand what are the relationships I am trying to maybe answer or discover, right? Once I do that, then my next step is to basically get onto the Jupyter notebook or maybe in Tableau, and then start writing the code, right? So that is essentially the two-step thing. But the first step is something with Chat GPT. Of course, Chat GPT give me suggestions of, let's say, I can ask it, give me, let's say, visualization suggestions for this data. So I can also get that, right, for this data. So let's see what happens, right? So I'm saying, give me other visualization suggestions. So I just asked, let's say, find out the trend of bookings in a year. So probably every month, what's the booking? So now it's saying that probably you can come up with a bar chart of bookings by location. Why not do that? as a data analyst, your brain would be occupied thinking that maybe let's see what are the locations which have higher booking rate, or probably something like that. Pie chart of bookings by guest count, scatter plot of bookings by date and amount, right? So you guys are doing a lot of caption projects with AlmaBetter, right? And you guys might be thinking about these on your own. But with ChatGPT, you can actually go a way further. You can build your notion and something what we actually want to get out of this project, right? So even when you're doing a job in a company, they are going to come up with a problem statement, say that, hey, we need to figure this out, we need to get an analysis on this. So now you of course are given that, hey, I want to analyze transactions data, but what are the questions that you're going to ask? What are the relationships that you want to uncover? And these you can use ChatGPT to maybe help you with those questions. But of course, as the core of data analyst, ChatGPT might not replace you in being really creative and knowing about the business, right? ChatGPT does not know about the business in a great deal of way. So of course you have an edge, right? But of course you can see that let's say maybe 50-60% of tasks which a data analyst is currently doing can actually be replaced by ChatGPT. But don't worry, they're not going to take away your job for now, right? As in the creative part of what questions do I even need to ask, right? So those are like something which humans need to excel at, and that's how they're going to sort of survive and thrive in such a world, right? So I hope you guys got an idea, right? So, right. So, of course, let's say whatever task that, let's say you are a web developer and you are a front-end developer, let's say, and you want to develop a web app to generate flashcards, right? So probably what I'll do, I'll essentially just plug in this here, right? So I will say I'll give a basic better prompt. So generate a React code to develop a web app for which to generate flashcards. Let's say with uh, with the feature of, let's say, flashcard which can which can generate flashcards, let's say. So this is my basic prompt, and let's see if it's able to do this or not, right? So of course I just take an example, but now you're seeing that it's importing React library, right? And it's writing a function called flashcard app. There are certain variables which are being defined, right? So there is another function to add flashcard, because my app should be able to generate flashcards, right? And how should flashcard be, right? So let's say there is a question, I click on this, it maybe, let's say, revolves or rotates around and then maybe give me something else, right? So that is essentially the purpose of flashcard. I can also generate HTML and CSS text to and put them all together in different files and maybe create a project. I can also generate the code to deploy this app. I can also further go ahead and add the code to connect the backend with the front end, right? So ChatGPT is really smart. It can really do a lot of heavy lifting work like writing React codes, because writing something like this can easily take maybe an hour for a developer, and it just takes maybe 2-3 minutes for ChatGPT. Of course, you have to spend certain times to really make this work, right? So, but you can generate any kind of text you want, right? So there is one such use case that web developers, they will probably not get replaced by ChatGPT, but if they are able to use ChatGPT to their leverage and they are able to make it work, they will outpace the other developers in their team, right? Because they're able to get their work quickly and probably efficiently as well, right? So you can also what you can do, you can copy paste your code, right? And let's say you can explain, so I can say explain this piece of code, and it will explain that for you as well, right? So something like this. So let's see what it gives me. So this page, so it's saying that the first line imports this, right? So things like these are really useful, let's say as a student, if you're learning programming or coding, right? So there would be situations where you know what to as in what would be the code about, you know that probably I want a code to do something, So you can put that. But let's say at times there would be certain piece of code that you would want to understand, but you are unable to do. So you can just paste that piece of code here, and you can get the explanation in a really great way, right? So the add flashcard function takes in 2 arguments, right? So these are things. So you can do code generation, you can do code explanation, and fortunately we are will be integrating these features in our dashboard as well pretty soon, right? So meanwhile, you guys can use the chat GPT interface to help you guys with all such tasks, right? Let's say I am a content developer. I want to generate a blog. This is something that we already saw, right? Let's say if you are a product manager and you want to generate a PRD on, let's say, AlmaBetter mobile app, right? So I can generate a PRD on that. As a video creator, I can generate a video outline. I can also generate the video script, right? So I have just taken, let's say, these 5 specific professions, but the use case is unlimited, right? I have read that ChatGPT is doing better than 95% of, let's say, intermediate level doctors, which is huge, right? So let's say if I have some symptom, or if I have certain problem, I can simply type it out in ChatGPT and it can give me really good suggestions, right? It can probably also take away a lot of redundant or repetitive tasks, let's say in the field of law, right? In that profession. So lawyers also have a risk. Probably they are going to stay because it's slightly more nuanced, right? Because you're dealing with people and all, and it's not just simply generating text. But let's say I want to understand habeas corpus. So I can simply write and it can give me, and I can tell that explain habeas corpus to me like a 5-year-old in the way of Elon Musk. So I can use that and understand what's happening. So a lot of professions, they let's say they are getting disrupted, right? And mostly from people who are in those professions and who are smart, and you're using tools like these, right? So let's say think of a lawyer who's using ChatGPT and think of a lawyer who is not using ChatGPT, right? Probably they would want to come up with a convincing argument, the way to formulate it, and then take in help, right? Or maybe let's say there's a common man who wants to understand the law and they can use it. So the use cases are sort of limitless. The professions that it can impact is also limitless, right? So there are tons of thousands of professions, and they can actually be they can be made more efficient, I would say, right? Rather than getting them disrupted totally. As in, let's say if I need a team of 10 developers to maybe build something, I would probably need, let's say, a team of 7 or 8 developers. And because they are now able to do efficient tasks, they're able to do quality tasks, right? And that can happen with any profession. So I'm not trying to say that your job is at risk, but let's say it can be if you're not leveraging tools like ChatGPT, right? Because people know about it, they're using it on day-to-day basis. In fact, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. I created this entire presentation using ChatGPT, right? Can you even believe that, right? So how I can do almost anything that I would want with ChatGPT, but probably I have to converse it in that way. I have to set the context, and then only it will know that, okay, this is what we want to do, right? So there's a surreal magic happening in the field of AI. So of course, ChatGPT is a text generation language mod, is a text generation model, right? But there are other tools which are like really powerful, like DALI, which can generate text to image, right? And there is so DALI is again from OpenAI, right? Just excuse me for a second. Right. So there are other very popular AI tools like Whisper. This is again from OpenAI, and it can generate, it can convert speech to text. So let's say I am saying something, and I want, let's say, a subtitle or a, let's say, transcription. So Whisper can do that, right? And it's pretty mind-boggling. So if we, so this is there on their website. If you explore on OpenAI website, right? So if you go to OpenAI, right, and you can see all these ChatGPT, DALI 2, Whisper, and if you look at Whisper, this is again fantastic.
This is the Micro Machine Man,
These are
presenting the
audio.
most miniature motorcade of Micro Machines. Each one has dramatic details, terrific trim, precision paint jobs, plus incredible Micro Machine
And they're
marketplace at
speed
Central Police
talking,
Station Fire.
right? And I can reveal the transcript. So in a way, Whisper is also a very smart model, but of course it's not generating, it's generating text, but the input is now not a prompt or a text, but the input is speech itself, right? Which is again part of your natural language, right? There is again a very popular mid-journey text to image, right? So there's a very popular tool called Mid-Journey, and there's a Discord server for this Mid-Journey, and I joined it, and I was sort of playing around with it. So what you can do, you can join their Discord server, and you just need to do, let's say you just need to write /imagine and then your prompt as in what kind of image you would want, right? So there people are trying cartoon style rabbits, happiness, gold nuggets, right? And it's generating these images, right? So probably, so soldier of so something like, let's say, skull wearing an olive drab shemag and ballistic goggles, right? So these are like very developed or very advanced text prompts that people are giving, and it's converting into an image. It's mind-boggling, right? So the progress has been really outstanding. Similar tools are like Stable Diffusion, which is again an open source, right? So you don't even need to go ahead and, let's say, join their Discord. With open Stable Diffusion, you can get started for free. And probably I would want, let's say, people, if you can, again, let's come back to Padlet, and I would want you guys to give me suggestions. So give me text prompts so that I can create certain good images, right? So be really creative with this. I just want you guys to maybe give me really good suggestion here, and I would want to maybe generate an image, right? So of course, we started with discussing about ChatGPT, but you're seeing that the field of AI is it's growing at a staggering pace, right? So let's say Ghost from Call of Duty, right? So probably let's go ahead and try this, but and it will take some time. But the possibilities are endless, right? Today I can generate text from, let's say I want to create a YouTube video, as simple as that, right? I can create my YouTube script and YouTube, let's say, outline with ChatGPT. I can create, let's say, images with Stable Diffusion, right? I can maybe create videos with their other tools, right? Which can also create video based on your prompt. So you just have to tell or speak, and you have everything. You have a video with a proper script, and that can have a lot of nuances, right? So probably you would want to make a video where two people are conversing with each other. So you can have those, right? So let's see what are the other inputs we have gotten. So Forrest Gump writing code, which is again awesome. I'll just go ahead and write this. So Forrest Gump writing Python code, for example. I'm just I'll maybe keep in mind that these are proper now, right? So let's go ahead and see what kind of text it's able to generate, right? And so now you're seeing that, okay, Forrest Gump, so probably it did not do that well, and you can try, let's say, this with Mid-Journey as well, and you'll be able to get these images, right? So this is the progress that we are seeing in generative AI, where AI has become so advanced that based on certain prompt, it can be your text, it can be your speech, it can, there are also models where you input the image and it will give you a good caption for that image, right? So a lot of ways from here and there people are doing it, right? So there is a Jasper.ai, which is again a text generation tool. So it's not a model, by the way, right? So DALL-E is a model, Whisper is a model, right? But these are like tools which are based on top of these models, right? So this is text to text. LJ speech is again text to speech, right? So Whisper is your speech to text. Now let's say if I write some text, LJ speech can actually convert that into speech, and you can let's say use any avatar or maybe any speech avatar, right? So let's say you want to have the text spoken as like Shah Rukh Khan, so probably you can do that, right? There's also Stable Diffusion. So and probably you would have seen a lot of deep fakes. You would have seen a lot of recent posts which are trending across the internet, right? Where let's say I saw a post on LinkedIn where let's say there is a very old photo and which has been made really clear, and it has been colorized, right? And it can also be converted into a video where it feels like let's say a long deceased person is actually emoting something, is actually expressing something, and that's incredible, right? So this is the magic which is happening in the field of AI. I just wanted to maybe take this time to discuss about why traditional ML is going to stay and why ChatGPT is not going to, let's say, it's not going to replace you. So for that, we need to understand what kind of model is ChatGPT, right? So ChatGPT, as we can say, it's a generative model, and also there's in the name. So such model can actually do text generation, image generation, speech generation, and there's certain algorithms. They can also do prediction, but the type of model is a different. Like let's say you can use time series, which are or maybe naive Bayes classifier. So these are like generative models which can generate based on, let's say, your prior distribution, as in the probability distributions in your data, more or less, which is already there, right? So on the basis of that, they are more or less learning in an unsupervised way, not with all the algorithms, but with algorithms like ChatGPT, they're learning in an unsupervised way. And then when we are giving them a prompt, they're generating the text, right? They're like discriminative models, which are more or less used significantly across the industry, right? So use cases are like risk analytics, stock price prediction, right? So let's say I have a simple question for you. If there is a certain input, let's say input for a patient, right, on their medical diagnostic report, I cannot input that into ChatGPT, and can it tell me what's the problem? Of course, it can give me an overall idea that this might be this. But when you're talking about proper, let's say, classification problems like cancer detection, whether based on these, let's say, attributes, whether a person has cancer or not. So these are things which ChatGPT won't be able to do. So you need to have a proper models which can do supervised learning in a great fashion, right? So algorithms like decision tree, logistic regression. So these are not going to go away for sure. They are going to stay. So of course, advanced algorithms like XGBoost, they're replacing almost all such models. But the whole idea is there are certain things, right? So let's say I want to predict a number. I want to predict what is the house price of, let's say, this particular locality in 2023. ChatGPT won't be able to help me with that, right? But models like, let's say, decision tree classifier, decision tree regression, they will help us with these tasks like predicting prices or maybe classifying a transaction as a fraud or not, right? So these are the tasks which our classical, conventional, traditional ML are really adept at, and algorithms like XGBoost, they are like world class. And in my job role earlier, I've used XGBoost extensively, and these are like really advanced machine learning models, which will not be replaced by like something like generative models because they have a different use case. Here, I'm asking a machine to predict, let's say, a number which is around house price of a house, right? But in the case of generative model, I am either asking them to generate a text, I'm asking them to generate an image, or probably, let's say, generate speech, or there could be other things, right? Here. Just be careful, like naive Bayes, which is again a supervised classifier. It's also we call as a generative model. So there is a different nuance to it. And if you want to learn this, we have actually discussed this in our full stack data science course in AlmaBetter. So probably when you stumble upon the chapter like Introduction to Machine Learning, we have discussed this in depth, right? So you can go there and discuss as in learn. So the overall point is traditional ML is going to stay because it can perform supervised tasks. On the other hand, ChatGPT can only help with tasks such as text generation, right? So that's something you need to understand. So overall, will ChatGPT replace you? But so ChatGPT won't replace you exactly, but someone using ChatGPT well, right? So your, let's say, competitors are more or less your contemporaries, right? People who are aware about these and they're using these extensively to help in their day-to-day work, right? So that's where you can actually become and get smarter, where you can use these tools to maybe do away with redundant tasks and only assume creative responsibilities, creative tasks, right? So ChatGPT won't replace you, but someone using ChatGPT. But of course, there are professions which might be, let's say, made redundant in let's say in few years, like content writer. Of course, content writers, they need to keep in mind the business, but let's say you don't need to have a really big content team. You can have, let's say, a team of 5 people, and they can keep generating content in voluminous manner, right? So guys, this was more or less the discussion that I wanted to do with you. I'll be open for Q&A session, but before we do that, let's go ahead and let's participate in this very interesting quiz. And and you guys are going to get goodies, especially for people who are going to perform really well, right? So I'm just going to launch my Kahoot. Right. So
Because before that, I
okay.
request everyone to fill this
Right.
Google form, guys, with your email ID. Use the same name that you're going to use in the Kahoot. So I request
Right.
the whole team to push the same Google form to social media platforms, because we are live on YouTube, we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on Facebook.
Right.
So team, please push this Google form. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Guys, do fill your the exact name that you're going to put in your Kahoot while we are getting into the quiz. And if you want to get in touch with our counselors and all, you can put your numbers over there. Team will get in touch with you for sure. Let's wait for 2 minutes, Vikas. Until
Yeah,
then,
definitely. So, guys,
chit
just
chat.
make sure the name that you're entering in the Kahoot has to be the name that you mentioned in the Google form. This is important for us to know who did well in the quiz, and we can give them goodies and rewards. So I'll just take a minute before I sort of share the quiz screen. So as of now, we have shared a Google form over the chat. So please open that and fill this form, and we'll be able to get your interest, right? And it's a pretty simple form, right? So you just need to enter your name and email, and probably there are certain things which you can mention, as in your feedback and all. And this will be useful for us to share, as in give you goodies for people who are going to top the quiz, right?
And you
So
guys can suggest us next topics for our masterclass. We have put it some of the topics in the Google form itself, so that will help us, all of us, to make the more session engage, I guess, Vikas.
right. So I'm sharing the quiz screen, guys. So just let's not hurry. So so I'll just So probably I can now go ahead and let's say play this quiz.
Sudeep, can you share the Google form again in the chat box, please?
Yeah, definitely. So what I'll do, so I had, so quick shortcut, let's say if you have control, close the tab, so you can press Control Shift T, so you can get this back quickly, right? So now I just need to, I'll share the form link again. So please go ahead and fill this. So OS is asking, can you tell me difference between GitHub and ChatGPT, right? So guys, it's pretty straightforward. So GitHub is let's say a software through which you can version control your code, right? And you can have let's say different people working on a different part of, let's say, a feature or a product, right? And there's this very seamless collaboration among the developers, and they use GitHub for that, right? So GitHub is mostly for code, let's say, collaboration and share with the team. But let's say ChatGPT is just a different AI model, right? So you need to understand. So I'll play this in classic mode, guys, and I'm just loading the game pen. So what you need to do, open your phone. First of all, open your phone, open your Chrome or let's say Safari browser, go to kahoot.it, right? And you will be prompted to enter the game pin. After the game pin, write your proper name. Do not write your nickname, because that causes confusion and we don't know as in who on what, right? So we want to reward you guys, and please put in your proper name. So I think we have 4 participants, right? And so 44 people. I would really expect at least 150, more than 150 people to join this quiz, because I'm sure we had a really interesting session, and this quiz is going to be really interesting for you guys. We have just 5 questions for you, and people, whoever is getting all those correct, they are definitely going to get the goodies overall, right? So
Guys, do fill the Google form again. Let's wait. First,
So
everyone should fill the Google form, and then let's get into the game. This quiz is going to be more exciting, I guess, for Vikas, for all of us.
Right. So game pin is here, and we have already shared the link for the Google form. So guys, please request you again. So before we just start our quiz, just go ahead and fill out the form.
I'll take this day. Guys, go fill the Google form and then go to kahoot.it, enter the game pin, mention the same name that you have given in the Google form, please.
Right.
So you have to go to kahoot.it.
Right.
Putting it
So
again.
I would assume you might not have Kahoot app, guys. So just go to browser, simply type this in your search bar or address bar, kahoot.it. You'll be prompted with a game pin. Enter this game pin 6721036. You can also scan this as well, right? And you just enter your nickname and you are in, right? So
Come on, guys, we're going to start exit when we got 167 people.
right. So we have, so I can see around 167 people, and I'm only thinking 136. So people, please, just be active. And it's a very simple thing. You keep using your phone all day, right? So just open your phone, open your browser, Kahoot, go to kahoot.it and enter the game pin. Right. So we'll start once this crosses 150. I'm just expecting you guys to join. And let's see, we are almost there. And all right, so we have a lot of interesting people. Nakul is there, Srinath is there, Manideep is there. So we have 150 people. I think we can go ahead and start.
Wait for 2 minutes because we have around 190 responses on the Google form. So waiting.
Okay.
Wait in for 2 minutes. Let's
cool, guys. So we'll just wait for 30 more seconds, guys. People who have not yet filled up the Google form, please do that. It's very important for us to take feedback from you and then improve and work on top of that, so that we can really come up with something better as well next time, right? So
start, Vikas.
Okay, cool, guys. So I'll just go ahead and start. And all right, so this was a session on will ChatGPT replace you. I hope you have gotten the spoiler, but so the first question: what is the primary purpose of ChatGPT? Is it language translation? Is it image recognition? Is it speech recognition, or language generation? Right. So we've gotten more than 100 answers. So interesting. Great going, guys. We have just 10 seconds left to answer this question. So what's the primary purpose of ChatGPT, right? Can it translate language? Can it recognize images? Can it, right? So a lot of people said language generation, and which is primarily the purpose of ChatGPT, right? So I wouldn't want to argue with this. And we have Anurag at the top, Sudeep at the second. So great going, guys. Let's see who will be on the leaderboard till the end. So who developed ChatGPT? IBM, OpenAI, Google, Meta. right? So around 10 seconds left, guys, to answer this question. This is a pretty straightforward question, guys. And yeah, so we're running out of time. We have gotten 168 answers. And yeah, so I think most of the people got it wrong, but I am seeing a lot of people are still not paying attention, like these 10 folks. So just remember, it was developed by OpenAI, right? Let's go ahead and next. So Sudeep, who was second, now has is in the top position. Anurag, probably there's a competition to you. So let's see. So this is the third question. This is multi-select. So how is ChatGPT trained, right? And I'm just so transfer learning, reinforcement learning, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, right? And let's try to get this correct. So we discussed the architecture of ChatGPT, right? So we talked about something called GPT-3 plus something, and then you get the ChatGPT model, right? So right. So these two are the correct answer. So of course, the GPT-3 is your so there is a unsupervised pre-training happening, and then there is a reinforcement learning through human feedback, right? So these two are the correct answer. Let's see the leaderboard. So we have a completely new people on the leaderboard. So this is the magic of this Kahoot quiz. So Faraz is at the top. Now let's look at the fourth question. What is the primary input for ChatGPT? Video, images, text, audio. Very simple question, guys. We have been just doing this, and I am not expecting any wrong answer at all. So 9 seconds to go. Let's see. Right, so almost everyone got it correct, yet there are few people who are getting it wrong. So the input is text. The prompt that we discuss is a text, right? So let's see, Ravi Shankar is at the top. Great going, guys. So this is the last question. So what type of language model is ChatGPT? Convolutional neural network, generative pre-trained transformer, recurrent neural network, or generative adversarial network? Right? This is also pretty straightforward. Right, so 6 seconds to go, guys. So yeah, let's see. So I think 96 people got it wrong. A lot of people got it, correct. A lot of people got it wrong, like almost 50 people who said this is a GAN. It's not a GAN. It's a generative pre-trained transformer, CGPT, right? So that's what we have here. The answer was pretty straightforward. So let's see who are in the podium for today's quiz. So at third, we have Aisha. So at second, we have Faraz. And at first, let's see who we have. So Ravi Shankar, right? So congrats to you guys. And the runners-up are Shobha and Nakul. So heartiest congratulations to you guys for doing so well in the quiz. And I hope you guys had a really fun time with this quiz. So what we'll do, we'll award the top winners with some goodies, and you'll get that information over your email. So whatever email that you have provided will get back to you pretty shortly. Okay. So again, so congratulations again, guys, on doing this quiz. So all right. So we had a fun session with this quiz, and yeah. All right. So now let's. I think you guys can start posting your questions in the Q&A. And while you do, I just want to talk a bit about AlmaBetter and what are we trying to do so that you guys can know. So AlmaBetter is a community-first learning platform where students, they study in groups, they're learning in groups, they're doing projects in teams, right? They're also getting ready for jobs with our network of hiring partners, mentors. So essentially, our program is divided into two phases. One, there is a learning phase where you complete all your or master your technical skills. Then we have a career prep phase where we train you guys to actually become job ready. So there's a resume building, there's portfolio building, there's a lot of mock interviews happening. And I hope you guys are clear with this. And so a simple path to success, you guys just need to sign up and enroll, sign up, explore the free resources. If you are convinced, you just go ahead and enroll, and you start your learning journey. You complete the milestones, you get the certificate, you sign the ISA, you get your course fee refunded, as simple as that. And in step 4, you start your placement program, which is your career prep phase. This is pretty intensive, and it's not for the let's say light-hearted. And then eventually your interviews happen with your hiring partners, and you get your dream job, right? So this is our path to success. And if you want to know more about it, you can place a request call back with our team, and someone will quickly get back to you and clarify your doubts. All right. And then we have a lot of multi-phase learning activities. So for technical skills, we have live lectures, we have lab experiments there, of course, recorded materials, projects and assignments, and then there are group discussions, because community is at the heart of our learning pedagogy, right? For motivation and industry exposure, we have one-on-one mentorship, guest lectures, like events like these, community participation, and then things which are like prerequisites for Almax, like capstone projects, your competency challenges. So if you complete these, you will be able to get a job guarantee, right? So we have more than 500 companies hiring from us. Like top product companies are in collaboration and working with us to get the best talent in data science and web development. So these are some of them, but we have much more, right? And these are like some of the success stories that we have, and these are our prized assets. These students have put in so much hard work, and they have been able to get a job within a really good, relatively smaller timeline, and they're doing really well in their life, right? So now I think we can take Q&A questions. So let's see. Right. So so I think so we'll give the goodies for the first 5 people, as in the top 3 people and people who are the runners up, and we'll see if we can give goodies to, let's say, top 10 people from the quiz. So we'll have a look at the report, and we'll try to do that, guys, right? So that's not a problem for our end. So also you guys are going to get the certificate for this particular masterclass. So so if you guys have filled the form, you will be getting a mail saying that, okay, download or generate certificate, right? So you'll be getting that mail by today. So just keep an eye over there, and you'll get it, right?
But here is the question: why companies want only BTech background? Is it necessary for a better placement?
Right. Can you pose that question? Okay, hang on.
It's in Q&A in Zoom.
Okay, hang on. Yeah. Right. So just right. So why companies want only BTech background? So Ritik, I think you're slightly misinformed, right? Companies are not looking only for BTech people, right? Because companies don't have anything much to do with your degree, as in which you have understood, as in done in your college, right? So the point is, anyone can do anything, right? And especially we're talking about tech careers. If you don't even have any prior coding background, let's say you are coming from a BS, you have done BS, or probably you have done BBA, you can actually come and learn with us, and you'll get a job, right? We have seen success stories where a guy was a dentist earlier, and he came and enrolled in our program, and he actually followed everything that we asked them to do. And he is a good data scientist working in a really good company, right? So companies don't want BTech guys, right? So that's I would say that's something we shouldn't be saying, right? Because it causes a lot of confusion. Because let's say, when did you even choose to do BTech, right? That happens at the end of 12th. You are not even aware, you don't know what's happening in the world, and whatever, let's say, your peers or parents ask you to do, you go ahead and do, right? And that will not determine your career life. That will not determine your life, right? Probably it can it is like a launch pad where if you're doing BTech, probably you can be at advantage. But I've seen people who are coming from all the other non-coding, non-ID backgrounds, and they're doing different degrees. Probably there are people like who have done diploma, and they're getting really good jobs, right? So the only things that matter is the skill, right? Is the curiosity, and of course you need to get better at your technical skills, right? So you need to do good in Python, you need to have good understanding of, let's say, machine learning or even statistics, right? So the only thing, those are the only things which company will keep in mind. I am hiring people in my team, let's say in product, in engineering, right? We are hiring developers or data analysts or data scientists. We don't put a lot of emphasis on whether they're strictly from a BTech background, because I know from my personal experience, this is just a hoax, right? This is just a false umbrella to give a sense of comfort, but that's not the case, right? You just need to put in your hard work, learn the skills, and that's going to take you so far, and that is like uncomparable, right? So just don't get hinged by the degree that you have pursued or something that you have done in your past. If you are prepared today, if you're willing to learn the skills which is required for the jobs that you want to take, start it today. Probably enroll in our AlmaBetter course, and you'll get a job in due time, right? So it's not necessary, right? Is there a minimum package after which will take there? So as of now, we are providing the minimum package of 5 LPA. So I'm saying that, let's say if you get a job with us which pays you, let's say 4.5, will not take a buck, right? And one important thing about this minimum package, that guarantee that we are doing is 5 LPA. But people who are getting placed, we're seeing that they are earning more than that, right? They are getting packages like 7 LPA, 9 LPA, 7.5, 8. So they're getting these packages as well, right? Let's say if you're starting out as a data analyst, probably you'll get at least 6 LPA or 6.5, right? So, so I hope, Karan, you got my answer, right? So, all right. So, Karthik is saying, I've done MSc in biological science. Can I get a job as a scientist and analyst? Definitely, right? So, as I mentioned again, and I just want to reiterate, the only thing that will matter is your skills. If you're able to do your work, you have developed that sense of craft, you're able to explain your work to other people. And these are like the only things that will matter, right? You have a good portfolio, you have a good set of projects, you have good understanding. That's the only thing which will matter. You don't have to hinge your future, or maybe think about your future based on what you have done previously, right? Because anything can change anytime, right? So just don't get confused here. So Ravi Shankar is asking, so we want courses with data engineering specific to technology like Kafka, Cassandra, right? So the one important thing that we are doing, guys, in terms of our curriculum, we are coming up with electives like data engineering or NLP, which you will be able to take in the full stack data science program and pursue those, and will try to map you to those job careers. Now, we'll also in future come up with, let's say, mini courses or short courses, which are like one module only, but they will be really focused on important technologies like, as you mentioned, Kafka, Cassandra, Hadoop, right? So everything that you might to need have an idea, will publish those as free courses, but data engineering will come as an elective in the full stack data science program going forward, right? So that is how we are trying to plan this. So let's say if you're interested in NLP, let's say you want to work something on, let's say, ChatGPT, so probably you choose that NLP path. But let's say if you want to build the data pipelines, you want to help a lot of data scientists with the ML pipelines, so probably data engineering would be the best choice for you, right? So we'll be publishing short courses, and we are of course introducing electives which you can pick, and you can learn these, right? So I hope, Ravi Shankar, I answered your question, right? Does data science need maths and statistics? So it needs to a certain degree. Of course, you don't need to be a PhD. You need to have basic maths covered, right? So at least what we have covered in our AlmaBetter curriculum in our maths module. So probably just brush those basic concepts like vectors, matrices, and basic simple calculus, very, very basic, right? And of course, even in statistics, you just need to have, let's say, a strong basic understanding of how it works, and you will be more or less set, right? So these two concepts are more or less important to understand machine learning algorithms, and then a lot of training or modeling techniques that you learn in future, right? So data science needs maths and statistics, but not to, let's say, a very advanced level. There are certain basics. If you are able to understand those, that should be enough. And these basics are usually covered in your class 11th or 12th, right? So and we have a proper refresher in maths. So even if you have forgotten, let's say, how to even differentiate x square, don't worry, we have included that in our curriculum. So you'll be able to learn everything from scratch. And I hope, yeah, I was able to explain your answer. So right, so someone is asking, what if I worked in our distribution shop, but now I want to get into this field, or what should I prepare for interview, right? So see, it's great, Prashad, that you are working in a distribution, you worked in distribution shop, and any job is good. But now, if you are really passionate about getting into this field, right? So you need to master certain fundamentals, and which you'll get to know through our program. So those are like Python, basic Python programming, basic data analysis, very basic maths, very basic statistics, and then a bit of machine learning, so that you are able to understand why are we even doing this, how will we do anything around modeling. And yeah, that's pretty much. To prepare for interviews, you need to brush up your technical concepts. You should be able to explain your technical concepts in a precise, in a concise manner, so that the interviewer can understand and relate whether this answer makes sense, right? So let's say he asks you what is decision tree. You cannot simply go on and blabber about it for, let's say, 5 minutes. You can keep it simple, like, let's say, you can say a basic answer without much technicality, and cover that maybe in 40-50 seconds. The interviewer will follow up with, let's say, difficult other intricate concept, like how does a node splitting happen, or what happens in this case, right? So in those questions, you can go a notch further. You can probably take a minute, like, to explain those concepts, right? So you don't have to regurgitate everything at once. And there's a stepwise thing that you need to follow. So in our AlmaX program, you'll be going through, let's say, around 50 mock interviews on small topics. And these interviews will be with our expert coaches working with really good companies and out there. And they will take your mock interview and give you really good feedback, so that you can improve upon those, and then actually become job ready, right? So I hope I was able to answer your question. So does career gap matter in job? Um, it doesn't, honestly, I would say, right? So let's say if you have a gap of year, a gap of, let's say, maybe 2 years, probably what you can do at this point is to keep working on, let's say, freelance projects or maybe open projects, and include those in your resume, right? So probably what you can tell, let's say, or explain, uh, you can explain why there was so much gap, right? So you can tell that I probably wanted to transition into this field because this was pretty promising, and I have started doing projects, I've started upskilling myself, right? And these are like things, if you're able to showcase certain work that you are able to do on your own, or maybe through, let's say, us, right? Let's say you will do some projects at AlmaBetter. So those are the things you can also put in your resume. You can explain your gap through a good reasoning, and I don't think that should be a problem, right? Right. So again, job gaps are common. A lot of people have gaps, but it doesn't mean that they're not earning, they're not able to earn, or they will not be able to earn, right? That is just a wrong notion. So you just need to gotta believe in yourself. You need to stick to the fundamentals, get your basics right, understand. Of course, apart from mastering technical skills, you need to understand how you're going to build your portfolio, and that's what we are trying to do in AlmaX, right? So just don't worry about this. Stick to your basics, and things will be pretty much sorted, right? Right. So I think there's a very honest question. So a guy is saying that earlier we were promising something like 6 LPA, but now it has been reduced to 5 LPA, right? So, but this is more or less a reactive step that we have done. As of now, we have a lot of students in our AlmaX pool. We would want to get them placed in really good companies. So that's why we have reduced our minimum guarantee placement. But it doesn't mean that people are just getting 5 LPA. The current placement starts, which we are seeing, people are getting like jobs above 6 LPA, 7 LPA. So, but we have reduced due to the situation currently in the market. Even FANG companies, they are doing layoffs, right? So, of course, there are jobs which are being created on day-to-day basis, right? So, of course, industries which need data scientists, they would be sort of non-tethered, and they would, let's say, have these positions open. So, just to accommodate the, let's say, situation that we are currently witnessing, where we are seeing economy going into recession. So our primary objective, we felt that we want to help people get a job, and it's not like a 3 LPA job, it's at least a 5 LPA job. And we are also guiding them how they can now do better, as in when should they do the next switch, what should be they doing after, let's say, they pick up the first job. So see, the first job when you get that is a really strong launch pad. It's like the start of your career. Your first idea should be to get that job, and once you get that job, you try to be involved in the industry, you try to upskill yourself continuously, and you'll be able to see that your salary is increasing every year, or whenever you're switching, right? So that's why we have done. But this is something that in future we might come back to 6 LP when the economy is in, let's say, normal state, right? uh, so my engineering completed 7 years. Actually, it has 3-year gaps. So can I get a job? So this is a question from Kunal. Again, I would like to say that, Kunal, probably you'll have to make up for something where you have 3 years gap. Do a lot of projects, build your portfolio, and probably convince, let's say, the recruiter, if you're getting an interview, convince the recruiter that even though there was a gap, and you can of course cite your own reasons, but you can say that I have done these projects during this time, and this is the kind of skill or the learning that I have, and I can really fit your job, right? So of course we'll have to do, right? So let's say if you're coming with 20 years gap, probably you can also get a job there, right? But these are like very difficult things, but you just need to believe in yourself, right? Despite the circumstances that you have seen in history, probably future won't be the same, right? So you just have to believe in yourself, stick to the basics, do that, and then just go through the process that we are recommending, right? So I hope that was you're able to yeah, get. So right, so Karin is asking, I have 4 years of break in IT industry. I was working with Infosys. Again, the same question, and my answer more or less remains the same, right? So just believe in yourself, guys. Stick to the basics. Build your good food portfolio. Master your technical skills. And if you are, let's say, you'll just need to understand how you're going to get shortlisted for the interviews. Once you are in the interview, you just need to project the best of yourself, give the answers in a really great way, and I'm sure despite those circumstances, you're going to get a job, right? So what is the good career to start in field of data? So let's say if you're really passionate about let's say you are really intrigued about business, you want to do a lot of analytics, you want to do a lot of modeling, so that's where data science would be a good career option for you. But let's say if you are into programming, you want to build certain flows, you want to move data from here and there within the system. So if you are, let's say, more if you are inclined towards programming, you don't want to know, let's say, a lot about the business, so probably data engineer would be a good career choice for you, right? So data engineer, I'll just give a disclaimer. It's a let's say slightly let's say inclined towards software engineering in a way, because it's mostly, let's say, an engineering or a programming job where you need to keep writing SQL and Python codes to build your data pipeline. But you are intrigued by business, you want to understand how businesses works, you want to do great analytics, and you want to build machine learning models, or let's say all these advanced models like ChatGPT. So data scientist would be a good career path for you, right? And will we learn ChatGPT in data science? So of course, ChatGPT, I try to give an idea. but this is not part of the curriculum, at least for this stage, right? So once you have, let's say, once you are doing your job as a data scientist, you can go ahead and maybe you can actually take an elective like NLP and learn about transformers, and then you'll have an understanding as in how these pre-trained or generative transformers work, right? So it will not be exactly in the curriculum, but we'll have a lot of references, and a lot of the fundamental concepts will be covered in the elective of natural language processing, right? So that we are coming up with a slightly revised curriculum on data science, right? So again, this is like the most common question I have ever received, right? So I have done mechanical engineering. I don't have any coding knowledge. So will I understand data science? The answer is 110%, right? It doesn't matter what background. I came from civil engineering background, and I picked up my job as a risk analyst with Amex, and then I basically switched to a data science role in HSBC and global analytics, right? So your discipline will not define you at all, right? So even if you have done anything, leave that behind. You focus on what's going to get you a job, right? And there's a very simple psychological hack, right? People who are shortlisting you, those are humans. People who are interviewing you, those are humans. They probably might have gone through the same phase. So just saying that they will not have a very such prejudices against you. So whatever engineering you are doing, right? If you have not done any piece of coding, that's not a problem, because we are training you from scratch. We are teaching you all the things from very scratch. So we'll teach you how to run your first code. Even it could be like, let's say, print hello world, right? But we'll be doing so. So you don't have to worry about this, right? So I hope you got the answer, right? And so Shiv Prasad, will we have electives? So in current data science course, she'll get to know pretty shortly, Shiv Prasad. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. So it will be done within a month. So just, yeah. How does ATS select candidate if it's not from tech background? Of course, everyone says you that you need to make ATS compliant resume and all, and they will do a lot of quick keyword searches and all. The thing is, the reality is not a lot of companies, they actually do a very rigorous ATS check, right? So they will manually go through these different profiles that they're getting in your applications, and essentially take a call on the basis of that, right? So it's not automated if you are thinking in that way, right? So I would say ATX is like one of the biggest hoaxes that we have seen. So of course, your resume has to be really well crafted. It has to project all your skills and projects. But let's say if you're writing, you're from non-tech background, no one is going to, let's say, reject you on that basis, right? If you're thinking about ATS, right? So what's the main difference between data engineering and data science? We covered this, guys. So probably I'll leave this again, right? Can we get placed in investment banks as a data scientist? Yes. So I joined in HSBC in my second year of job, right? And I joined the investment banking division of HSBC. So yes, anyone can. So data science is domain agnostic. Right. So you can go in investment banks, you can go in fintech startups, you can go in gaming startups, you can go in consumer startups, you can go in D2C startups. All these companies, they are getting so much data from out their processes, from their customers, and it's very important for a business to understand who is doing what, right? So like, let's say, even as in a company like AlmaBetter, let's say I'm having this session on Masterclass. So I need to understand who are the interested people who want to join this masterclass, who are the people who attended this, right? So there's a lot of analytics probably we would want to do even for a very simple use case. And this is a very priority for businesses. So it has to be there, right? So, all right. Vivek, do you want to take certain questions?
Yeah, Vikas. Hi. So I guess it's going really good. A lot of people having a lot of questions again. There, like some of the questions that we can highlight, which will cover most of their doubts is, right? So most of the people are having like, what if they are having gaps? Most of the people are having gaps,
Right.
3 years gaps. They have completed their engineering in 7 years. So this is one of the important question what I feel that most of the
Right.
people are looking for. And after that, like one of the like repeated question is like, what kind of degree is required, right, for to get into data analyst, to get into data scientist and all. And guys, whatever the and like and people are asking like, what is the criteria to get into LMAX? These three questions are more repeated over our another platform also, LinkedIn and Facebook.
Right.
So
So, all right. So, we'll try to answer those questions, guys. So, I talked already earlier about the gap, right? And how, what you can do about it. See, you cannot control the past, but you can influence the future, right? Future is at your hand, past is gone, right? So, let's not use that as something to be maybe let's say gauge your future, right? So even though if you are having, let's say, gap year because you're preparing for UPSC for 3 years and you couldn't clean it, that means that doesn't mean that you don't get to live a good life. That doesn't mean you don't get to get a good high paying job, right? The only thing that you need to focus is to have a belief in yourself. uh, let's say stick to the fundamentals, complete the basics which are required from technical expertise point of view. Also build a great portfolio, do some awesome projects, and you will prepare for the interviews, right? So we are doing helping our students with a lot of mock interviews. Involve yourself in those, and you will see that you are much confident in terms of what a skill, let's say, in the let's say a hiring manager is looking for, right? See, if I am a data science manager and I'm hiring a data analyst, right, I wouldn't keep a lot of prejudice, and this kind of psychology is also changing across industry, right? So a lot of interviewers, they are not keeping a prejudice whether you have done MCA, where graduated in 2016, you had a gap of, let's say, 3 years. There could be a lot of reasons, and those are very personal in nature. But overall, the interviewer will be impressed by your skill set, by your knowledge, and by your, let's say, street smartness, by your understanding of things. So these are the only things that you need to keep in mind and consolidate on those, right? So just if you are having any inch of doubt that I graduated from this background, I have gap years, so stop, let's say, stop paying attention to all these thoughts, right? Just you need to make sure just you're sticking to basics, you're getting your fundamentals correct, right? And you're just having a lot of belief and confidence in yourself. Because what I've seen in my personal experience, a lot of Indians, especially youth, right, who are like in this age group of maybe, let's say, 18 to 22 or 23, they are pretty low in confidence, I would say, right? So I know life is full of problems, it's full of struggles. The only thing that you can do today is to take a leap of faith in yourself, believe in yourself, and just do what's required, right? So for example, how we are encouraging you to follow this guided plan to get a job, you complete that, you show your merit, and you'll see that you'll get a job, right? So probably there could be, let's say, some days here and there, let's say you're maybe not getting a job in 6 months, you're getting a job in 8 months. That could be there, but you are able to break into a new career, you're able to position yourself there, right? So that's very important from the point of view of beginners, guys. So just do away with all the inhibitions, I would say. Please do not get your confidence low, because I know a lot of people can judge themselves, can doubt themselves, and on a lot of occasions, and that's what we just need to avoid at this point of time. We need to really focus on what's ahead and not what's behind, right? So what extra knowledge, industry knowledge should I know? Shiv Prasan, this is a very good question. So as I mentioned, data science is domain agnostic. So of course, let's say if you are maybe, of course, you need to have a basic understanding of how things happen in certain domains. But let's say when you're doing certain projects, or maybe you're doing your job in the company, you'll get that domain understanding with experience, right? It doesn't, probably you can do a case study on a particular, let's say, industry like fintech, you might be able to get some idea. But how is, let's say, what's the industry grade practices which are being applied in data science, let's say for a fintech industry, those you'll be able to learn only in your jobs, right? So of course you'll be able to get an understanding of the domains, at least the surface level idea. But I think in the real job, you'll be able to get even better domain understanding, right? Usually what happens in data science, people pick a domain and they keep sort of growing in that domain. Like I started with Amex, it was in finance. I switched to global analytics, that was again in fintech. And then I moved to HSBC, that was in investment banking. So of course, it's related to finance, but it's not exactly the same in these three companies, right? And it happens with a lot of people. I've seen there's a coach who was working at Mobile Premier League. Now he's working at Misho, right? So it's domain agnostic. The discipline is domain agnostic. People who will be interviewing you, they want to understand whether you have the required technical skill sets, and plus, do you have a basic understanding of the business, how it works? That's it, right? So if you know how business works simply, and have a basic idea of what happens in fintech, right? So in fintech, you probably should have a basic understanding of how, let's say, underwriting happens, what kind of popular, let's say, evaluation frameworks these industries are using. So very basic, and you'll be able to cover those, let's say, in blogs. We also have really good case studies in our curriculum. So if you look at industry sites insights module, we have a lot of case studies covered there. So you'll get a bit of domain understanding from there too, right? So Shrusti is saying, what happens if I cannot qualify for Almax? So Shrusti, what I'll say that Almax is not tough, right? You just that basically we're asking you to complete certain milestones in the course. So let's say if you completed a chapter, hey, can you take this quiz to have your understanding? And we are giving multiple attempts for all these assessments that we are taking throughout the program. So it's very unlikely that you are not going to end up in Almax, right? So if you are sincere, if you're disciplined, if you are able to learn things in a consistent manner, so I think there's no one stopping you, right? So do people get job in data science field in other location apart from Bangalore, Hyderabad? Yes. So they get jobs in Pune. They're getting jobs in Gurgaon, Delhi, NCR, right, in Mumbai. But usually what's happening is a lot of companies, they are remotely working. So if you join as a data scientist in a company, you'll be working mostly remotely, right? So of course there are certain companies which will ask you to come to office maybe on 2 or 3 days, but that will be like work from city. But in a lot of companies that I have seen that uh, you can work from home, right? So unless it's very required for you to maybe show your face at office, so that will be there. But I think you can actually convince your recruiters that, hey, probably I would want to work from home if you're actually willing to. But let's say in this young age, I would suggest that you guys should explore different cities, should meet with different people, and have should different understanding of cultures as well, right? So probably I feel that you guys should be open to moving here and there, because your first job is really important. You don't want to apply a lot of filter, just like how you do on a, let's say, a Flipkart shopping page, right? So life is not that straightforward. You'll not get everything as you had wanted. But let's say if you had got something, let's say, uh, to certain degree as you had wanted, you can actually build on top of it. So spend certain time in that job, in that profession, and you'll see that within a year or two you have really great control in your life, and you're able to do almost anything. So let's say if you want to get a job in Gurgaon, you can go ahead and apply and you'll get a job. If you want to let's say keep working from home, you can find those companies. So it's not a problem. So people do get a job, but a lot of people are also getting remote from or work from home jobs. So out of India, any job, so we'll definitely want to place people, let's say, remotely. But as of now, we are not doing that, and that's all was one area that we really want to work aggressively on, right? So I'll just take this last question, guys, and we'll wrap up this session. So does data scientist single-handedly has to build recommended systems? Okay. Are they sole responsible for the models? I want a clear know-how of how and what data professional do in actual company. right? So does they also incentivize? So a very generic trend that I've seen in a lot of freshers, right? People who have not taken up any job yet, they don't have any idea as in what's happening in let's say what happens when you take a job. How is my manager going to talk to me? How are my teammates going to talk to me? How is the organization going to connect with me or interact with me? A lot of people, they don't have such clarity, right? So first of all, data scientist, let's say if you are a sole data scientist and you need to build a recommender, probably you'll need to do that. But of course, you'll be getting a lot of input from the business strategy as well, right? So they probably might tell you that, hey, we'd want to incorporate certain other logic on top of the base recommender, right? So it's not only the data scientist has to single-handedly work. See, usually data scientists, they connect with all the business divisions. They talk to them about the business needs. They keep asking pertinent questions which are very important for the health of business. So once they do that, now to answer those questions, they can, let's say, build a model, they can do certain analysis, they can loop in certain business folks to maybe brainstorm on certain bit, right? So I hardly feel that there are data scientists who are single-handedly doing stuff. Usually there are, let's say, a couple of analysts, or there is a product manager, or let's say there is a head who is brainstorming and discussing with us and how we need to build this, right? So you are not on your own, or even if you're on your own, use ChatGPT, to be honest, right? So probably you can write, how do I build a recommender system where I recommend articles for my blog website, let's say, as simple as that. So you can get these questions answered from ChatGPT, and of course, your technical training will help you do so, right? How a normal day-to-day life looks in the day of, let's say, a data scientist. So usually what they do, they would wake up, and let's say if it's a work from home, right, they would, let's say, get freshened up, and they would open their laptop. They would sort of recollect as in what happened, as what was I doing last day. There could be, let's say, some models that they are training. So it could be, let's say, they're training a simple random forest model, right? They're also doing a lot of analytics on top of, let's say, the model prediction. So let's say using a model, you predict something, but now a lot of analytics has to go on top of it, right? So that's some work. There would be a lot of time they would be spending on maybe getting certain data which is required to actually answer those questions. And in big businesses, data, they do not reside at, let's say, single places. They can be sporadic, and they can be at various places. So your job is to connect with business team and understand, or maybe engineering teams, where is this data residing? I want to do some analysis on this. So you'll talk to people, you'll collect the information required to pull in the data, right? So you'll write the SQL queries. You'll probably do certain visualization in Python. So this is how the general life looks like. In fact, let's say if you are lucky and you are training a lot of ML models, and these ML models, they take a lot of time, right? So, and your system can get really occupied. So probably the only thing that you can do is sit and watch while the model is getting trained, right? So that's what I did a lot of time. Let's say I spent 2-3 hours just staring at the screen and seeing that there's nothing going wrong about during my model training, right? So yeah. All right, guys. So I hope I was able to answer your questions. So overall, I had a really great session, guys, with you, and seeing such an active and participation from everyone.
I
I
guess
am super delighted.
you have to thanks to audience at Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We have 88 people in Facebook, 50 people.
Definitely, right? So anyone who is watching this event from anywhere, right? So if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on YouTube, or probably you're in this Zoom session. So thank you everyone for making this session so great. I really love the way you guys participated. You guys wrote down your prompts in the Padlet. You participated in the Kahoot quiz, right? And it is so fun, right? So we'll keep doing such sessions in future, where we would want to educate you on really burning topics, or very relevant trending topics, and so that we can make you aware about these concepts, and of course the field in general, because it's very not because as a person, you or someone who wants to really get into this field, so of course you need to master your technical skills, but let's say keeping yourself updated with the progress in currently, right, in AI, in technology, what are the new companies who are, let's say, ushering in these innovations. So if you know about them, you'll be really impressed with what's happening today. And I would say that I would want to just quote a very good line from Arthur C. Clarke, right? So any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? And when I actually started playing with GPT-3 2 years back, and of course with ChatGPT recently, I definitely feel that they seem magic to most humans, right? Because it's very difficult to even comprehend how is it happening, right? And all these, let's say, deep learning models, they are more or less like black box. You are not able to understand what's happening internally. How does the model understand the semantics? How does the model understand the context? Right. So these are very difficult questions to answer, but because we have been able to actually do so, that's really staggering to me, right? So just stay curious, guys. Be active in the community, and we'll be sharing this recording with you guys after this session, and then we'll also be sending you the email with the event summary. We'll also give the goodies to people who actually did really well in the quiz, and you'll also be getting the certificate, by the way, right, for joining in this masterclass. So having said that, guys, again, it was wonderful chatting with you. So let's catch up next time. So possibly next week, or maybe next to next week. And I'd be really happy to take a masterclass on a slightly different topic where we can cover something, some other interesting concept, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Vikas. Thank you for.
And thanks to the folks from our AlmaBetter team, guys. So Vivek and Naren, so these guys are also really active in making this event successful. So thanks to the team, and thanks for everyone who joined over LinkedIn, YouTube, and in this particular Zoom session. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, final.
All right, guys. Bye. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.